Salvete viatores, and welcome back to Let's Translate Eutropius's Breviarium Historiae Romanae ab Orbe Condita. Last time, we read about the reign of Servius Tullius and his newly invented census, and he was then promptly murdered, ending our nice little pattern of violent and peaceful deaths. This time, we come ever closer to the end of the Roman kingdom with Lucius Tarquinius Superbus. The Lucius is just a lot of the time the praenomen or first name of Roman names is shortened to just like a single letter. Because they really did not have that many first names. So you could shorten them easily and be able to know what it is. So when it's just a single L, it's Lucius. So Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, our subject, Septimus atque ultimus regum, the seventh and final of the kings, Volscos, quae gens ad campaniam eontibus non longe ab orbe est wicked. And that's the end of that phrase. We got to the main verb. Forgot to mark Volscos as well. So he conquered or defeated the Volsci, who, quae, sort of are, you gotta say are, I don't know exactly why it's in the singular, why est is in the singular here when it's talking about multiple people, especially because quae is also plural, so I mean, I guess it could be thinking it is a singular group of people, maybe, but then why is quae in the plural? I mean, it's got to match gender, number, and case with Volscos, with Volsci, which is Volscos is the accusative form of Volsci, but also Volsci is in the masculine, is a masculine gendered word. So why is it quae? I don't understand, and I wasn't really able to find an answer either before this. But if you know, please let me know. Because I want to know. I'm confused by this, but I get what it's trying to say. But the Volsci, who are a people or a country or a tribe, you could say a clan, not a long way or far from the city of Rome. For those going to Campania. I believe this is supposed to be in the dative here. I think it might just be better to say, for those going to Campania, a not long way from the city. Yeah. Basically saying, if you're going to Campania, which is a bit southeast, I think, technically, of Rome, really of Latium, because it's a whole different region, it's just not far from Rome. You'll get there soon. Gabios civitatem et suessam pometiam subigit. So he subjugated the city Gabii. This is an apposition. It's not the city of the Gabii, it's the city Gabii. And Suessa Pometia. Cum tuscis pacem fecit. He made a peace with the Tuscans, and Templum Iovis in Capitolio, can't surround it once again, aedificavit. And he built the temple of Jove, or Jupiter, on the Capitoline, finishing that project from his father's reign. So for the whole sentence, because this whole thing was just the first sentence, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, the seventh and final of the kings, conquered the Volsci, who are a people, for those going to Campania, a not long way from the city. He subjugated the city Gabii and Suessa Pometia, or Suessa Pometia. He made peace with the Tuscans and built the Temple of Jove on the capital. Postea, afterwards, Ardeam oppugnans. I'm not sure how to mark this since this is a present participle. The subject is still Tarquinius, and so this isn't technically the subject, it's more describing the subject, so I don't know exactly how to mark it, but I think I'll just leave it be. In octavo decimo milliario ab orbe Roma, two separate prepositional phrases in a row, that's weird. Positam civitatem. Imperium pedidit. So, afterwards, besieging or assaulting Ardea. You could also say while besieging or assaulting Ardea. A city located on the 18th milestone, or just 18 miles of Orbe Roma, from the city of Rome. He lost his power. Perdo can also mean to destroy or wreck, stuff along those lines, but it's also defined as to lose, like lose completely, lose utterly. So here it's being used as he lost his power. So, going over the sentence, afterwards, while besieging Ardea, a city located 18 miles from the city of Rome, he lost his power. Nam cum filius eus et ipse Tarquinius junior, for when his son himself also, because I'm pretty sure et here isn't just and. I think you have to translate it as also. But himself also, a younger Tarquinius, nobilissimam feminam Lucretiam eandemque pudecissimam, colatini uxorem strupaset eaque de injuria marito, et patri et amicis questa fuiset, in omnium conspectus e occidit. Well, we've seen that word, and that's not a good sign. Now we went through all of this, but none of this is a verb. This is all just about one person, and that is Lucretia. Though I think really the object is feminam. Stupraset is the main verb here. So he, being the little Tarquinius, I believe his pronomen is Sextus, so Sextus Tarquinius. When I talked about the Sabines in Romulus's reign, I brought up rapuo, and how that's more kidnapping rather than rape. Stupro, that is rape. Or you could say violated. So he violated or raped. Nobilissimam feminam Lucretiam, the most noble, or a most noble, actually better word order would be nobilissimam eandemque pudecissimam feminam Lucretiam. So a most noble and likewise pure or chaste woman, Lucretia. Colatini uxorum, the wife of Colatinus. I hope you can't hear the rain outside, because I can hear it. That's some heavy rain. Eaque, and she, de ignoria marido. We'll get back to that in a second, because it refers to something that'll happen just a second. Et patria amicis, questa fuiset. Actually, that's not really a verb. It's just part of the perfect passive participle with questa. And she complained about this marital injury to both both patri, to her father, et, and to her friends, amicis. In omnium conspectu, omnium is genitive, so it has to go to conspectu, because in goes only with the accusative or the ablative. There's no other accusative. Omnium is not the accusative, so it goes to conspectu. Say occidit. In consideration of everything, she killed herself. This is actually kind of an interesting story, the story of Lucretia. I'm not going to go over it all here, because this chapter is already long enough. But if you would like to read it, then I would recommend it on the grounds that it's like the story that shows what the Romans thought the ideal woman was, which certainly is not what most people nowadays would agree with. But if you want to get more inside the mind of Romans, then, or at least traditional Romans, then I'd say learn about that story. But going over the whole sentence, for when his son, himself also a younger Tarquinius, raped a most noble and likewise pure woman, Lucretia, the wife of Colatinus, and she complained about this marital injury both to her father and her friends. In consideration of everything, she killed herself. Propter quam causam, on account of, I wasn't quite sure what to do with quam here. I think it's such, like on account of such a cause or reason. I think that's it. If it's not, feel free to correct me in the comments. Brutus, parens et ipse Tarquinii, also himself a relative of Tarquinius. Parens, for classical Latin, it always means parent, as it certainly looks like it, or at least related to the word parent. But in later Latin, which this is later Latin, 4th century, once again, this was written in, it can also just mean a general relative. Which Brutus was certainly not the parent of Tarquinius, or any of the Tarquinii. Populum concitavit, et Tarquinio ademit imperium. He riled up the people and removed power from Tarquinius. Nice shorter sentence. So, on account of such a reason, Brutus, himself also a relative of Tarquinius, riled up the people and removed power from Tarquinius. I guess this would be ablative of separation then. mox, soon, exercitus, the army, quoque eum, qui, civitatem ardeam cum ipso rege, fact, oppugnabat, reliquit. So soon, the army, which I'd say leave these for once you're done with the relative clause. So the army, which was, imperfect tense, besieging the city Ardea with its king, also left or abandoned Eum, him. That's a terrible bow. There we go. Vaniensque ad orbem rex portis clausis exclusus est. And the king coming ad orbem, to the city, he was like prevented, locked out, I suppose you could say, or shut out. Shut out where it works here, because it's he was shut out by the closed gates. Cumque imperasset annos quatuor et viginti cum uxore et liberis suis fugit. And when he had reigned or ruled for 24 years. I don't know why he has the 4 before the 20 this time. Usually it's the 10 or 20 or 30 or whatever before the 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. But apparently Quatuor just comes first here. I'm not sure why. But when he had ruled for 24 years, he fled with his wife and children. With his wife and children. Back over the full sentence. Yes, starts here. Soon, the army, which was besieging the city Ardea with its king, also abandoned him. Abandoned kind of makes him seem likable, actually. A bit more tragic. He was not tragic. Nobody liked Tarquinius Superbus. He got Superbus. He got the cognomen Superbus for a reason, which means prideful, and not in a good way. Like, his pride was more hubris. So, don't feel bad for this guy. So, left him Vaniensque and Rex and the king coming to the city, he was shut out by the closed gates. And when he had ruled for 24 years, he fled with his wife and children. And one more sentence to go. Hurrah! Ita Romae regnatum est per septem reges. Per septem reges is the end of this prepositional phrase. Annis ducentis quadraginta tribus cum adhuc Roma ubi plurimum vix usque ad quintum decimum mediarium possideret. That's definitely a verb. Okay, so this is kind of weird, I think, because ita is just so. Regnatum est is ruled, like was ruled, but Romae is not in the nominative. But I think it sounds good because it's once again this is pair plus the accusative to replace the dative of agent. So was ruled by 7 kings for all these are for 243 years. I just don't know what the Roma is doing here. I mean, there isn't any kind of note on it in the Gutenberg text. The Reverend translation that I have been reading, it kind of makes it sound like it's locative, which could make sense, but what was ruled then? What was ruled? Why is Romai in either the genitive, dative, or locative? I don't... Though I will say, after doing a bit more checking, apparently, using regnatus like this is more of a later Latin thing, like post-Augustus, which is interesting. So, using this with the dative of agent, which per Septimus, I guess, is just substituting for the dative or ablative of agent. But why Rome? If it's locative, then it's at Rome. But where do I fit it in? I'm pretty sure it doesn't take a dative. Like, reigned Rome, ruled Rome. But you know what? I am wholly not sure. But I think I'm just going to do... So, Rome was ruled by 7 kings for 243 years. I think I'm just going to go with that for now. If you could explain to me why Roma is in the form that it is, I need to hear that because this is going to bother me. Cum ad hoc Roma. I think it's actually kind of like this. I think it's a preposition with Rome to here. Or up to here? Up to here, I think. Up to this. Like up to this point. Up to this. Up to here. Up to this point. Yes, in time. Ubi prorimum. Where, like, maximum, the most. Vix usque ad quintum decimum milliarium possederet. And I've got the V verb there. Holds, possesses, or controls up to, plus odd, the 15th milestone. Or 15 miles from the Rome. And ubi plurimum is like at its maximum. So that's as far as it reaches. So like at the most, you could phrase this as, where most, at the most. Wix is with difficulty. Up to the 15th milestone, she controls, I suppose. Or they controls? Actually, what is the subject here? What is the subject here? Oh, wait. No. Cum is not the preposition here. I'm pretty sure it's actually Roma. I'm pretty sure that's nominative. So when, up to here, or so far, Rome, where most at its most, with difficulty, controls up to the 15th milestone, or 15 miles from the city. So, or thus, Rome was ruled by 7 kings for 243 years, when, so far, Rome, at its most, with difficulty, controls up to the 15th milestone, up to 15 miles away. Okay, that last part especially was, but that's technically the reign of Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, though I do not believe this is the last we will see of him. But either way, end chapter. We continue on to the Latin reading and the English reading. Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, Septimus atque ultibus regum, Vulscos, quae gens ad campaniam euntibus, non longe ab orbe est, vicit. Gabios civitatem et suessam pometiam subegit. Cum tuscus pacem fecit, et templum Iovis in Capitolio aedificavit. Postea ardeam oppugnans, in 8º milliario ab orbe Roma positam civitatem, imperium perdidit. Nam cum filius eus, et ipse Tarquinius junior, nobilissimam feminam Lucretiam eandimque pudecissimam, Colatini uxore, stupraset, eaque de injuria marito, et patrii et amicis questa fuiset, in omnium conspectu, se occidit. Propter quam causam Brutus, parens et ipse Tarquinii, populum concitavit, et Tarquinio addemit imperium. Mox, exercitus quoque eum, qui civitatem ardeam cum ipso rege oppugnabat, rerequit. Veniensque ad orbem rex, portis clausis exclusus est. Cumque imperasset annos 4 et viginti, cum uxore et liberis suis, fugit. Ita Romae regnatum est, per septem reges, annis ducentis quadraginta tribus, cum ad huc Roma, ubi plurimum, vix usque ad quintum decimum milliarium possideret. Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, the 7th and final of the kings, conquered the Volsci, who are a people not far from the city for those going to Campania. He subjugated the city Gabii and Suessa Pometia. He made peace with the Tuscans. He built the Temple of Jove on the Capitoline. Afterwards, while besieging Ardea, a city located 18 miles from the city of Rome, he lost his power. For when his son, he himself also a younger Tarquinius, raped a most noble and pure woman, Lucretia, the wife of Collatinus, and she complained about this marital injury to both her father and her friends, in consideration of everything, she killed herself. On account of such a cause, Brutus, himself also a relative of Tarquinius, riled up the people and removed power from Tarquinius. Soon the army, which was besieging the city of Ardea with its king, also left him, and the king, returning to the city, was shut out by the closed gates, and when he had ruled for 24 years, he fled with his wife and children. So, Rome was ruled by 7 kings for 243 years, when Rome, up to here, at its most, controlled, with difficulty, up to 15 miles away. Until next time, where, with the kings deposed, we see what the Romans replaced them with. But we also see that Tarquinius Superbus is not gone for good. Valete, viatores.